It is really, really nice to have you guys here. Let me just start by introducing myself really briefly. My name is Brian Hogan. I'm a life coach, filmmaker, and clinical therapist, and founder of the S.H.I.F.T model, which is EFT and IFS. It stands for Somatic Holistic Internal Family Transcendence, and it's a way of moving into healing through radical self-acceptance. That's the central core idea behind the S.H.I.F.T model. Self-acceptance happens to also be the core idea behind tonight's experience, which I'm so excited about. My mission involves sort of helping nudge along the transformation of human consciousness that is underway on the planet, species-wide, and has been foretold for centuries. So I'm always really inspired to be part of any groups like this, where people are taking healing into their own hands and learning to reconnect with joy and aliveness and our true essence and our true nature as human beings. So to that end tonight, we are going to pressure test the idea of self-acceptance and see if it really holds up and see, is this really a good idea? What is this whole self-acceptance thing? My vote is that it's a terrible idea. And we'll get into why that is, but it is a badass technology. And so we'll talk about the difference. Before we do that, just go ahead and take a nice slow deep breath and let yourself arrive. Whatever that looks like for you. We're in no hurry. I like to take a nice, long, slow, deep breath in through the nose, and then a slightly longer exhale through pursed lips. It helps cue your nervous system that you're safe and that now you're not being chased. So just feel the chair beneath you, feel your feet on the floor or however you're positioned, and just really feel the support underneath you. Feel it physically, sensationally with your body. And just notice that for the next hour, there's nowhere else that you need to be, and there's nothing else that you need to do. And tonight, what we're going to do is explore one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal growth, self-acceptance. And I want to start with something a little provocative, which I've said a couple times, which is that I think it's a terrible idea. I mean, at least as an idea, it sounds very weak. It sounds very permissive. It sounds like giving up. It sounds a lot like letting ourselves off the hook. And if it remains just an idea, it is terrible. So tonight we're going to spend a little time with the resistance around this before we discover something much, much deeper. Because while it is a terrible idea, it turns out to be an extraordinary technology, a technology that changes the nervous system, a technology that changes our relationships with ourselves, and a technology that creates the exact conditions under which transformation becomes possible, becomes automatic. So let's start by looking at self-acceptance not as a concept, but as a technology, because we all know the concept already. We know it really well. You've got to be more self-loving. You got to be more self-accepting, more kind. But what if you're behaving badly? What if you're filled with regret? What if you're filled with addiction? What if, what if, what if, what if? And so it's a great concept. But how is it actually going to help me accept myself in all of my flaws, in all of my failures, in all of my bad behavior, my dysfunction, my childhood drama, in all of my everything, right? So it's hard. And as an idea, it seems appealing, but it also seems impractical. Why would we waste our time with that? It's not going to help us improve anything. It's not going to help us streamline, optimize, produce, get better. And we think that means it's not going to help us have more joy. But actually, the truth is something so different and more useful, which is that self-acceptance isn't a good idea. As an idea, it's useless. As an idea, it makes us think, well, I can just get away with everything, or I can feel permissive or soft or passive or like giving up. But that's just the idea of self-acceptance. The technology of self-acceptance is something else entirely. It's a felt experience in the body. And it doesn't have the same residue that the idea does. It creates a completely different set of results because where we're in the presence of deep, true, radical, genuine self-acceptance, not with an agenda, not because you're trying to fix yourself or improve, but because you're actually just accepting. Then what happens is your nervous system reorganizes. Your parts begin to softly reorganize automatically, gently on their own, because they're letting go of a certain set of burdens on their own. The burden of having to protect you from your own self-rejection, the burden of having to compensate for shame, the burden of having to earn worth. And layer after layer, it begins to soften. So self-acceptance really is a terrible idea, but it is an amazing technology. And if all you do is think about it, it's going to ultimately seem terrible. But if you can touch into the felt experience of self-acceptance, that's a technology that can change your life. Self-acceptance is not soft, it's not passive, it's the opposite of giving up. Self-acceptance is the refusal to participate in your own self-annihilation. And in a culture that runs on self-rejection, that happens to be a very, very, very badass move. And it's also hard to do. You think it's easy to make a mistake and wake up the next morning and hear the critic and then go, oh, I'm going to accept that voice that criticizes me. And I'm also going to accept that part of me yesterday that was afraid to make that mistake. And I'm going to accept the part that made the mistake and the part that drank too much after because I didn't know how to cope and the part that overreacted and the part that shut down this morning. I'm going to accept them all. That's hard. That's hard. And that's what makes it badass. It's really, really hard because the idea of self-acceptance just leaves us hanging. We say, well, I can't accept that. And then that we get all confused because, well, what about I thought self-acceptance was appealing? But that's because I'm not asking you to accept the bad behavior. I'm asking you to accept yourself, the person who had did the behavior. That's all. Just to start there, to start by noticing that and accepting that. So take a moment and just reflect on where in your life right now you might be struggling with self-acceptance. No matter how far you've come, no matter where you are on your journey, you might just be struggling with it in a certain area right now. And tune into that, tune into what that might look like for you. And if you feel called and if it feels aligned, you can share a little bit in the chat about where you are struggling right now with self-acceptance. But as with everything in this type of practice, it's permission based. So only share if it feels aligned for you and if it feels useful. You can share a little bit about where you struggle with self-acceptance. For me, there's a couple areas, and one of them is sugar. It continues to plague me. And I find myself overreacting because I'm like, you're a 48-year-old man, you should be past this. I literally say that to myself, you should be past this. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's that part. I can't, he's not accepting the sugaraholic, you know what I mean? But I'm not accepting the sugaraholic. I find it very difficult. So I'm trying to live that out now too. And so if you want to share where you might be struggling, where you're struggling with a part of you to accept it because it's dogging you, because maybe it's sabotaging you, because it's causing something in you that you don't want to be there. And so you confuse your part with your behavior. And if you don't want to share, that's totally okay. Again, this is fully, fully permission based. And so what I really want you to tune into and to notice and be able to accept is the soft animal of you, the soft creature who sometimes does the behavior in spite of themselves. Accept that. The same way you would accept a small child who's doing something that might be dangerous or might, cause something. You don't accept the behavior, but you don't reject the child. You don't look at the child and say, you are bad. You say, oh, no, 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 sweetheart, that has to stop. You're going to burn your hand off. But the child remains loved. The child remains accepted, welcome. Self-acceptance is kind of like that, but it's beyond that, actually. Words pale in comparison to what it feels like because this is me right now trying to communicate about a technology with an idea, and I've already said the idea is terrible. So at a certain point, this starts to sound like, okay, great, but how do I apply it? Because who cares? Because it really is a terrible idea. Words could pale in comparison to what it feels like. But when you touch into it, the agenda for change begins to drop. And then in that dropping, change happens faster. This is the paradox. We're deep in paradox territory now. And that's why it's difficult because we've been trained that worth equals productivity, that virtue equals self-sacrifice, that love equals people-pleasing, strength equals pushing through pain, and that weakness equals feeling anything at all. So when we try to accept ourselves, it feels wrong and lazy and dangerous, and like maybe we're letting ourselves off the hook too much. It feels like we're gaslighting ourselves out of accountability. So self-acceptance as an idea feels like failure, like a non-starter, because we've been trained that way. But when you touch the felt experience, what it feels like is healing. It feels like thriving. It starts to feel like joy. You think about the inner drill sergeant, the voice that says, work harder, do more, don't be weak, keep going. And it feels like discipline. but it's internalized threat. It's activating your nervous system. Ancient wisdom understood this too, because in Buddhism, they say that suffering equals resistance to what is. And in Taoism, they say forcing creates the imbalance. In Christianity, they talk about don't judge because judgment fractures the you. You can't then see the specks in your own eye. Acceptance restores the relationship. Science backs this up too, because polyvagal theory will tell us that chronic self-criticism puts you into fight or flight, and shame shuts down learning and flexibility. So self-rejection actually it doesn't push us in the direction that we think it does because we think it seems disciplined. So we crack the whip and we think it's making us stronger, but it's not. It's making us tighter, more pent up, more reactive, less effective, less healthy, less open. But it's a big deal. Why is it such a big deal? Because not only does it improve your internal state, it can improve your whole life if you can touch into it. Past the idea, if you think about a hostage negotiator, you don't calm someone down by screaming, calm down. You calm them down by seeing them, hearing them, validating their experience, remaining calm yourself. And your parts are no different. The mechanism is like this. Self-acceptance leads to safety. Safety leads to truth being able to emerge. Truth leads to integration. Integration leads to change. And that's the cycle. And it's weird and it's paradoxical because self-acceptance leads to change. What? Shut the heck up. But it's true because you don't force anything. And so then change can happen on its own. The movement back toward wholeness happens naturally. It's like a cut on your hand. When you remove the infection, it just closes. You're not there like doing yoga to make it close. It just closes. And that's the same with our psychic and traumatic wounds too, when we can get the debris out of the way, the debris of our own self-rejection out of our way. Carl Rogers said it like this. He said, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself exactly as I am, then I can change. And we know in IFS that self-energy emerges when parts stop being attacked. So that's the paradox. Self-improvement says fix yourself so you can feel better, but self-acceptance says feel better and change becomes possible. So we don't reject who we are. We become better by no longer needing to reject who we are. That's the flex. That's the radical move because decades of conditioning run in the opposite direction. So if you can show up in the middle of a mistake and say, I accept myself, and therefore I can take responsibility, that's a flex. That's badass. Because self-acceptance doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook. It means seeing reality clearly for what it is, including your part in it. So if it's only an idea, it remains largely useless. And we can argue about that forever, agree, disagree, analyze, debate. But technologies are not understood by thinking about them the way ideas are. Technologies are understood by building and using them. So for the rest of our time together, what I want to do is move out of discussion mode into experiment mode. And we're going to see what happens when we experiment with and touch into self-acceptance as a technological force by bringing along all of our resistance and all of our parts and all of the things that seem like they make self-acceptance impossible. That's where we start. We start by accepting all of that. So join with me when you're ready and start tapping on the side of your hand. And remember this, the shift practice and EFT in particular, it's a repeat after me and an eyes open practice, right? So you don't have to worry about knowing the tapping points and you don't have to worry about figuring out what to say. That said, if you feel really comfortable with the tapping points and you want to close your eyes, that's fine. You're not doing it wrong. You can do it either way. And if you hear anything I say at all and it doesn't totally ring the chime of truth for you, don't repeat that to yourself. Just change it in real time to whatever rings your truth, because trauma is healed best in safety and truth while being compassionately witnessed. The safety is created by this container. We are the compassionate witnesses, and the truth emerges from you. So don't say anything that I say that doesn't feel like true. Just swap it out in real time. Even though self-acceptance sounds weak, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though it sounds soft and permissive, I honor my skepticism. Even though part of me doesn't trust this, I'm willing to explore. And part of me wants to trust this. Top of the head. Self-acceptance sounds weak. Eyebrow. It sounds soft. Side of the eye. It sounds passive. Under the eye. Unrealistic. Under the nose. It sounds naive. Impractical. Chin. Sounds like giving up. Collarbone. I'm struggling to trust it. Part of me is. And I understand that part under the arm. The struggle makes sense to me. I accept that there's a struggle to accept. Okay, you can stop tapping there or just continue softly on your favorite tapping point. I like to put my hands on my heart, and if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes for a moment and just reflect on this. If self-acceptance truly is a bad idea, what specifically feels dangerous about it? See if your part is willing to share. What feels dangerous about self-acceptance? What are the parts afraid would happen if you really allow it? Just see what comes up for you. You can share in the chat if you like, or you can stay in your own internal experience, whatever serves you best. Because we don't fight resistance, it's information. It just means protectors are showing up, and they deserve curiosity, not correction. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it's not achievable. There's too much regret. Won't change anything. Yeah. Yeah, just notice that. Notice these feelings, these difficult feelings that are there. And as long as it feels safe, just echo in your whole system, you can stay. Right now, you can stay. I can contain you. These feelings, you can stay. And when you're ready, and just take your time with this, yeah, the guardrails might come off. Anything might be possible. Could be stuck like this. Yeah, yeah. Accept this. If you can, notice how you're feeling. Notice what's emerging from the parts. And just as much as feels genuine, say, I can accept this right now. I can accept that this is how these parts are feeling right now. Acceptance doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I enjoy it. It doesn't even mean I approve of it. It means I'm willing to allow the experience. That's all that it means. So when you're ready, join me on the side of your hand, and we're going to start with another round here. Even though self-acceptance sounds lazy, I honor the part that believes that. Even though I've been taught that growth requires pressure, I understand that's conditioning. Even though I don't know if this will work, part of me feels pretty sure it won't. And I have tender, hopeful parts that want this to work. I am open to learning. I'm open to testing. I'm open to some experimenting. Top of the head. This sounds lazy. Eyebrow. If I accept myself, side of the eye, I'll stop growing. Under the eye. If I accept myself, I'll stop improving. Under the nose. I'll lose my edge. Chin. I'll lose motivation. Collarbone. I'll become complacent. Under the arm. That's what this part believes. And this makes sense too. This makes sense to me. Okay, and stop tapping there. Close your eyes if that feels okay, and just place your hands on your heart and take a nice, long, slow, deep breath in through your nose and a longer, slow exhale through pursed lips. If you feel like moving or yawning or stretching, allow, allow, allow. That's your nervous system saying, hello, I am regulating. Thank you. And just tune in. What part of you most strongly believes that pressure is necessary for growth? Is it the achiever part, the perfectionist part, the workhorse part, some other part? Maybe there's a coalition, a whole board in there that feels this way. Just tune in and see who's willing to show up and say, yes, I do. I believe that. Pressure is necessary for growth. And see if whatever reveals itself, if you can look at that part and say, you make sense to me. I don't want to debate you. I don't need to argue with you. In fact, I can accept you. I accept you and the idea that you have that pressure is necessary for growth. I accept that. Yeah, I know you got that idea somewhere, and I know you try to live that idea to protect me. Come close, come be with, just be with me. One who always tries to lead with pressure. For right now, I've got you. And just notice, we're not arguing with these parts. We're listening and we're showing up, and that's already a form of acceptance. The parts may be skeptical. They may not know how to take this in. They may be loving it. Any response is okay. Just allowing. Accept how your system shows up when first presented with acceptance, and allow that response, allow that reaction. When you're ready, begin tapping with me on the side of your hand. We're going to meet one more resistant part here. Part that feels like self-acceptance is dangerous. Because resistance is a terrible word. It just means cautious. Just means caring, methodical. Parts that don't want to get it wrong. They care for you, your well-being. So even though self-acceptance feels dangerous to some parts, I honor that fear. Yeah. Even though part of me thinks everything will fall apart if I just have self-acceptance. I understand why. Even though this feels risky, I'm willing to stay curious. Not to push, not to bypass, not to bully. My protectors are welcome. I accept them. They have wisdom. And I'm willing to explore. Top of the head. This feels dangerous. Eyebrow. What if something bad were to happen? Side of the eye. What if I lose control? Under the eye. What if I stop trying? Under the nose. I'll stop caring. Chin. I'll stop improving. Collarbone. Everything would fall apart. Under the arm. That's what this part fears. And that makes sense to me. So just continue tapping here on your favorite point right now. I like to go to the collarbone. Do what feels right for you. Just tune into this part for a moment. What exactly does this part imagine might happen if you truly accepted yourself? What is it really afraid would happen? Because the nervous system will sometimes confuse familiarity with safety. And many of us feel familiar with self-attack, with self-critique. So it feels like it's safe, even though it's threatening. So just see what this part might be afraid of. Whatever comes up is okay, and just allow that to be as long as it feels safe. If anything starts to feel overwhelming, you just tune into your system and you say, parts, would you mind not overwhelming me so I can continue to be here with you? And the parts will often agree to this because they want to be with. We're just going to move right into another round here. Even though self-acceptance sounds like letting myself off the hook, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though part of me believes accountability requires self-criticism, I honor how hard that part works. Even though I don't want to become irresponsible, I'm willing to explore possibilities beyond self-rejection. Top of the head. This feels like letting myself off the hook. This feels uncomfortable. Eyebrow. If I accept myself, maybe I'll stop caring. Side of the eye. Maybe I'll stop showing up. Under the eye. Stop taking responsibility. Under the nose. Make excuses because I can just accept myself. Chin. Avoid accountability. Collarbone. Maybe I'll never change anymore. Yeah. Under the arm. That's what this part is concerned about. Yeah. Stop tapping there. Take a nice, slow, deep breath in and just tune into the experience you're having and see what parts of it you might be resisting, what parts of your own experience right now you might be resisting, and what parts you're able to readily accept. One of the great misunderstandings about self-acceptance is that it removes accountability. But accountability is just seeing reality clearly. And self-acceptance allows us to look clearly without collapsing into shame. Self-rejection makes accountability harder, and self-acceptance makes it possible. So just take a moment here and tune into your own inner experience now. Where is the struggle to accept? Is there a struggle still holding on? Like, ooh, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can accept this. Everything but this. You don't need to share anything deeply personal at all. If you'd like to share in the chat what's happening in your inner experience now, feel free. But there's no pressure to do so. Yeah, if I'm too accepting, I may stop making progress. Yeah. Yeah, it really does feel that way. Feels very scary. What are we, crazy to accept? It's a terrible idea. Yeah. But we're moving into the technology here now. So join me on the side of your hand again. We're just going to meet this whole coalition of protectors. The parts that feel it's dangerous, the parts that feel it's lazy, the parts that feel like it's not practical. We're just going to bring them all in. Even though many parts of me resist self-acceptance or are confused by it or made uncomfortable by it, I'm willing to meet them with curiosity. Even though some of these parts make life difficult sometimes, being harsh or sabotaging me, I honor their positive intentions. I honor how hard they work. Even though these parts don't trust acceptance yet, I accept that. and I'm willing to listen. Top of the head. The critic is here. Eyebrow. The high achiever is here. Side of the eye. The workaholic, the one who pushes. Under the nose. Under the eye, rather. The people pleaser is here. Under the nose. The fixer, present. Chin. The perfectionist, here and early and stayed longest. Collarbone. They're all trying to help. I can see that. I can see how much they want to help. Under the arm. They're all trying to protect me in their own way. Yeah. Take a moment here. Stop tapping and just tune in to your experience. Which protector has been carrying the heaviest burden for you lately? The one who works, who fixes, who performs, who pleases, who criticizes? Which protector has been working so hard to keep you moving? Using self-rejection, using pressure, using force, using alarm bells. Just tune in and see if you can see clearly which parts of you are showing up that way for you right now, trying to help you make progress, using those difficult methods, but still trying to help you make progress. Yeah, the one who wants approval. Yeah, my one who wants approval, I call that the urge to impress, and so powerful in my system too. Yeah. Yeah. So just notice, because this is important. We're not trying to get rid of these parts. We're not even trying to transcend them or eliminate them. We're simply recognizing that every one of them learned its job for a reason, a good reason, and it's trying to help. And every one of them might be exhausted too. Yeah. Accountability. They get nervous about accountability. Yeah. Yeah. What's that going to look like? So just notice if any part of you feels relieved simply because it doesn't have to defend itself for a moment, because you understand why it uses these methods. Just for a moment, you look at these parts that you normally would avoid, you normally would push away, you normally would try to prod, poke, change, annihilate. And you look at them now and you say, I can see you more clearly. I get you. I get what you're trying to do. Yeah, maybe your methods are difficult for me sometimes. We're going to work through all that together. But I accept you, the child, for who you are. We can connect more and figure out the behavior, figure out the thoughts. But you, the part of me doing this, I see you. I love you. I see where you got this idea. And if you're skeptical, I see that too, and I accept that too. You don't have to be any different right now. If your parts are front and center, that's fine. If they're hiding, that's fine. If they're skeptical and peeking around a corner, that's fine. Just stand determined, doggedly, stubbornly in acceptance, no matter how your system is showing up inside right now. Because we've misunderstood it. So join me again on the side of your hand. Even though I've spent most of my life thinking self-acceptance was a bad idea, I'm open to being wrong. Even though I still have doubts, I'm willing to get curious, to let my intrigue take me. Even though part of me remains skeptical, I'm open to experimenting. Top of the head. What if I've misunderstood this? Eyebrow. What if acceptance isn't weakness? Side of the eye. What if acceptance isn't giving up? Under the eye. What if acceptance isn't laziness? Under the nose. What if acceptance is something else? Chin. What if it's technology? Collarbone. Cutting edge technology. Under the arm. Technology that works. Let's take a moment here. Just stop tapping and close your eyes or continue on your favorite tapping point. And just notice what happens inside when you genuinely ask with humble curiosity. What if self-acceptance is something different than I thought? Not just to believe it, just to ask it, to let the curiosity rise, to let the question linger, not to rush in with an answer, but to stoke the flames of curiosity. What if self-acceptance is something different than I thought? Just ask. Because we're not forcing belief. We're not trying to convince ourselves of anything. We're just becoming curious. Because curiosity is one of the safest bridges into transformation. It doesn't demand any certainty. It just asks you to stay open. So join me again on the side of your hand. Even though I don't fully understand self-acceptance, I'm willing to experience it. Even though I can't think my way into it, I might be able to feel my way into it. Even though this is unfamiliar, I'm willing to stay here. Top of the head. Nothing to fix right now. Eyebrow. Nothing to improve. Side of the eye. Nothing to earn right now. Under the eye. Nothing to prove. Under the nose. Nothing to defend. Nothing to perform. Chin. Collarbone. Just this moment. Just this breath. Noticing how it feels in this moment to be trying to stay with, to be sitting with. It's possible it might be seeming like, wow, this is boring. This is getting boring. That's so normal. Such a normal reaction. Or I'm starting to feel a little mildly irritated. What are we doing? What are we even accomplishing? What's getting done? Yeah, if any of that's rising up, just allow it to be there. Reassure those parts that nothing's getting done, and that's the point. We're not trying to do anything. We're just accepting that. And we're willing to accept even the part that feels irritated by this, even the part that feels bored. Yeah, you're welcome here too. I'm not mad that a part of you is showing up bored. I'm not mad that a part of me is showing up irritated. Yeah, you make sense too. We're grappling here. We're sitting with. We're trying a new neural pathway. What are we doing? What are we thinking? Just accept whatever it is, whatever the complexity is. Maybe your parts are all here on board. Like, yeah, give us more of this. That's okay too. Wherever you're at is okay. And just notice what happens in your body, not your thoughts, your body. What happens when for 10 seconds you just stop trying to improve yourself and you go, right now, just right now, I accept it all. I accept the storm. I accept it all. And if you'd like to share in the chat what you're noticing happens in your body, in your sort of sensational awareness, when you just really do determine to allow and accept the present moment, to accept the truth of the present moment. I feel XYZ. Say your truth. Notice how the truth makes you feel. If you'd like to share that in the chat, what happens sort of somatically as you just allow acceptance in, feel free. But you don't need to force anything even here. And you could be noticing things good, bad, or ugly. All of our experience is okay. You don't have to be having a positive experience to be having an experience of self-acceptance. You have to be having an experience of acceptance, acceptance of what is here, good, bad, or ugly. Yeah, and that's hard for us. That's weird. We want to go right back to accepting it and then making it positive or accepting it with a positive spin. But just accept it and see what happens with that. A little bit, feel lighter. Feel a squeezing in the stomach. Yeah, yeah, of course. This is foreign. What are we doing? What are we trying to do here? What are we trying to pull? Right? Yeah. Free fall. Yeah, yeah. So just notice that and notice that you can be in free fall and be safe, that both are happening at the same time. A lot of shoulder heaviness of holding these ideas. Yeah. And now you say, yes, I don't need to hold these ideas. I can accept that part of my brain wants to hold them and it's okay if they fall right out. It's okay. Tired. Yeah, accept that. I am tired. Notice what happens when you just lean in. I am tired. Yeah. This is where it stops being an idea because it's becoming technology right now because something happens in our nervous system. When you tell yourself the truth, the internal threat starts to decrease a little bit and the war starts softening. There might be an upsurge in the feelings at first as you allow them in, and then the liberation comes. You shall know the truth and it shall set you free. There is such wisdom in that. Okay, so join me again on the side of your hand. Even though I've spent years trying to improve myself through self-rejection inadvertently, I am open to another way. Even though I still have things I want to change, I don't need to reject myself first. Even though I am still growing, I am already enough. That seems like a paradox, but there's no paradox there. The 5-year-olds you know are already enough, and they're still growing. The 10-year-olds you know are already enough, and they're still growing. The teenagers you know, they're enough, and they're still growing. So you are enough. I am enough, and I am still growing. And there is no contradiction in that. Top of the head. Maybe I do belong. Eyebrow. Before I improve. Side of the eye. Before I achieve. Before I perform. Under the nose. Before I prove myself or prove anything. Chin. Maybe I belong right now. Collarbone. Maybe I always did. Under the arm. Maybe that was never a question. So just take a moment here. You can continue tapping on your favorite point, or you can put your hands on your heart and just reflect if all your parts already belonged, if belonging wasn't something they had to earn. What would relax? What would soften? What would be allowed to rest in there? This is your inner wizard. The self with a capital S doesn't create belonging, recognizes it. It doesn't grant worth, it sees worth. Your inner wizard doesn't wait until the parts become perfect, welcomes them now, and that changes everything. So we're going to take a few moments here to do a visualization. So just allow your hands to come to rest either in your heart or in your lap, and allow yourself to become 10% more comfortable. If you need to shift in any way, feel free to just allow yourself to really become very comfortable, very grounded, So you can focus on nothing but the present moment. No aches, no pains, just this present moment. Whatever is contained herein. Take a slow, deep breath in and a slow, deep breath out. Like this. And just imagine yourself standing beneath a vast night sky. Above you are countless stars, ancient stars, stars that were shining long before you arrived, and stars that will continue long after all of us are gone. And just notice something, that the stars have never asked you to earn their light. The stars have never asked you to become more productive, more successful, more spiritual, more healed. They simply shine, and they shine on everyone. And notice what that feels like. And now imagine the warmth of the sun. The same sun that rises every morning. The same sun that touches oceans and forests and cities and mountains. The sun has never withheld itself until you became worthy. It has never demanded perfection before offering warmth. It simply shines, and it shines on everyone. And just notice what that feels like. And now feel the earth beneath your feet, the earth carrying your weight, the earth supporting you, sustaining you, nourishing you. The earth has never demanded that you become flawless before allowing you to stand upon it. It simply supports you, and it always has. Notice what that feels like. And now become aware of the trees, the plants, the forest, the flowers, and the grass. None of them are waiting for you to become anything in particular before they produce oxygen for you, before they offer beauty to you, before they nourish you. They simply participate in life, and they allow you to participate too. Notice what that feels like. Becoming aware of the animals, the birds, the insects, the deer, the creatures of the ocean, our pets, none of them evaluating your performance. None of them deciding whether you've earned your right to exist. They simply exist, and they allow your existence too. They support it too. Notice what that feels like. And just allow your awareness to expand further, further outward and further inward. The stars, the sun, the earth, the plants, the animals, existence itself, reality itself appears remarkably accepting of your existence. Everything seems willing to allow your existence. Everything seems willing to support your existence, to include your existence. And then notice something. The only holdouts might just be us. The only one debating our worth still might be us. The stars are not. The sun is not. The earth is not. The trees, the animals, existence itself is not. Only us. And so imagine now your inner wizard within you steps forward, not as a fixer, not as a coach or a manager or a critic, as the leader, the calm, steady presence, loving presence, a presence that understands acceptance naturally. And imagine that this wizard begins extending the same acceptance that existence has been offering all along toward the critic and the achiever and the people pleaser and the workaholic and the perfectionist and the scared parts and the parts holding shame and the exhausted parts, toward every part inside. No agenda, no fixing, no pressure, just shining. You belong, you belong, you belong. And perhaps for a moment, you allow yourself to join with the rest of existence and offer yourself the same acceptance that reality has been offering you all along. So take a slow breath. And then another. And when you're ready, you can gently return your awareness to the room. There's no hurry. Take all the time you need with your parts and your system. You can't get this wrong. Yeah, and just notice what's been shifting. Good, bad, or ugly. Just notice what's been shifting inside you. Self-acceptance is a terrible idea as an idea, but as a technology, it may be one of the most powerful things we can practice because self-rejection can create threat and self-acceptance creates safety. Safety creates truth, truth integration, and integration change. So thank you for living in the paradox with me tonight, everybody. Thank you all for being here. You do not become better by rejecting who you are. So just take a moment and notice from where we were at the beginning of this hour to where we are now. What's shifted for you around self-acceptance? Good, bad, or ugly? What's shifted? And if you feel like sharing that in the chat, you can. What's shifting for you around this idea and or this technology of self-acceptance? It's just a space for you to reflect and share. There is no pressure. And you guys are so welcome. I see all the beautiful thank yous. Thank you all for being here. Yeah. Yeah. What's shifting for me is I still have parts that go, skeptical. There's a softness, there's a lightness in me. There are parts of me that are glad in spite of myself that I allowed self-acceptance in. And while that's happening, while that's the truth of my experience, there are parts right here going, yeah, but we're not going to do that again, right? Like, are we doing it again? Like, this was a whole hour. Like, you could have been creating your email nurture sequence or blah, 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 right? Like, so I still have that. So the struggles are real. The struggles are okay. And so if you want to share what's shifting for you, what's coming up for you, you can as you grapple with your own self-acceptance journey. We have a couple more minutes, so we can just stay together in the container, but there's no pressure to share. Feeling gentler toward my blocker parts. Yeah, exactly. And they work so hard. We could start to understand their positive intention, and they need that. They need that. I have blockers too, and they're very misunderstood. I can say that, and there are still parts in me that have misunderstood them. Calmer on the one hand, but hearing the skeptical chatter on the other. Yeah, yes, of course. Yeah, me too. And the trick with self-acceptance is to notice that you're now holding the paradox more clearly, whereas before we were just holding the one side. And it's not to resolve it. The goal here is not to resolve it and say, oh, self-acceptance, then finally the skeptic will go away. No, self-acceptance means accept the skeptic. It's okay. Yeah, part of me doesn't buy this shit. Accept that. That's okay. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you. Do we meet once a month? Yes, we do. We meet once a month. This happens, I think it's the first Wednesday or the second Wednesday every month. So yes, we do. If you search EFT community tapping circles, Sam, you should be able to find the page and it will tell you like when the next one is and you can save the link. I'm also just going to post a couple things in the chat right now. In 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks, me and Miriam are doing a free call. It's very similar to this. It's like very much the same idea around the idea of reconnecting with your joy and with your desire and with your spark. If you've ever done workshops with Miriam and I before, it'll be very similar to the way those flow. It's about 75 minutes long. There's no fee connected to this at all. We just want to do this, and we will do the workshop itself to help people connect with their joy, and then we'll share a little bit about an immersion we're doing in July. If that piques your interest on June 23rd, feel free to join us. There's the link there that gives you the Zoom link, and then you can come. Below that is just a free guide that has tools where you can continue staying connected to inner friendship if you'd like to. 5 tools I use to help make my mind a friendlier place. And then I do a podcast on Tuesday mornings every week live at 8:30 a.m. on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So that's very similar to this as well, but it's only 20 minutes. So I teach something for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we do about a 15-minute shift practice similar to these. So if that resonates at all and you want to stay connected in an ongoing way, you can join me Tuesday mornings at 8:30. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Really, thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been such a blessing. See you all in the next one.